The Emergence of Satan, Origins of Enmity, and the Architecture of Defiance. Across cultures, civilizations, and systems of thought, human beings have long wrestled with a fundamental question. What is the source of moral opposition, inner conflict, and destructive impulse within the human being? On this subject, two broad approaches have historically emerged. First, the perspective of religious traditions grounded in revealed wisdom. Second, the perspective of philosophers, thinkers, and reflective observers who approach the question through reason and lived experience. 1. The emergence of Satan from the perspective of revealed tradition. Within the worldview shaped by monotheistic revelation, the existence of a conscious, unseen adversarial presence is clearly affirmed. This understanding appears consistently across sacred texts and most extensively in the Quran, which refers to this reality in numerous passages. These references are not incidental. Rather, they form a coherent account explaining origin, refusal, and enduring inner opposition within the moral history of humanity. Within this framework, some passages describe the origin of this inner adversarial being, the reason for defiance, and the resulting separation from divine proximity. Others describe active interference within the human moral interior, opposing clarity, sincerity, and inner alignment. Still others speak of subtle intrusion into human desire and attachment, influencing how individuals relate to wealth, ambition, and worldly pursuit. Each of these dimensions reflects a distinct mode of inward influence, rather than merely external obstruction. Their fuller examination will unfold gradually in the chapters ahead. From within this tradition, it is widely recognized that this adversarial presence holds a fundamental enmity toward Adam, understood as the ancestral and symbolic representative of humanity, and therefore toward the inner moral constitution of human beings themselves. Elements of this account have already been introduced earlier. Here, the intention is not repetition, but integration, bringing the narrative into a clearer and more deliberate sequence. According to this account, when the celestial order was commanded to acknowledge the unique role of the human being, all complied except one. This figure, known in the tradition as Azazel, later identified as Satan, refused. While all others submitted, he alone withheld assent. This moment marks the first explicit rupture between inner surrender and self-assertion, establishing a pattern of inward resistance rather than outward rebellion alone. The Quran describes this turning point as follows. When we commanded the angels to bow before Adam, they obeyed without hesitation, all except Iblis. He challenged the command, setting his own assertion against the call of surrender, and in that act of defiance, fully known to God, exalted as his majesty, he cut himself off from obedience and was counted among the defiant deniers. Following this refusal, the narrative shifts to the first human dwelling and the introduction of moral responsibility rooted in inward choice. And we said, O Adam, dwell you and your companion in the garden, and eat freely from wherever you wish, but do not approach this tree lest you become among those who wrong themselves. What follows is the first act of inner deception and its consequence. Then Satan caused them both to slip from it and expelled them from the state they were in. And we said, Descend, some of you enemies to others, and for you on the earth is a dwelling place and provision for a fixed time. In summary form, the narrative presents a descent from ease to responsibility, from sheltered abundance to a realm where inner struggle, opposing inclinations, and moral discernment define human life. Immediately after this account, the text emphasizes restoration, repentance, renewed guidance, and the assurance that those who follow the path of inner alignment need not live in fear or despair. Read as a unified whole, this narrative establishes three foundational points. 1, that refusal occurred. 2, that it was rooted in inner arrogance rather than ignorance. 3, and that its consequences extended beyond a single moment into an enduring interior opposition within human experience. What remains to be understood, however, is the deeper cause that preceded the refusal itself. That cause is identified as ambition, not merely social ambition, but metaphysical self-exaltation. This being had borne the weight of devotion in pursuit of elevated rank. When divine wisdom placed the human being in a role he had not anticipated, the gap between expectation and decree produced an inner rupture. Frustration hardened into resentment, and resentment into hostility, directed first toward Adam and thereafter toward the inner moral trajectory of humanity as a whole. From this point forward, opposition became intentional. Influence became strategic. The aim was no longer resistance alone, but the inward misdirection of human choice. Further clarification appears elsewhere in the Quran, where the material origins of humanity and this adversarial being are contrasted. Human beings described as formed from earthly substance, and this opposing force from fire. When questioned about his refusal, he argued superiority based on origin. This marks the first recorded instance in which origin was mistaken for worth, and inner orientation was replaced by self-assertion. As a consequence, he was removed from divine proximity and declared an enduring adversary. Yet he was granted respite, time within which human inner life would unfold under trial. With this deferment secured, opposition transformed into a declared program, to adorn the world inwardly with illusion, to entice desire, to distort perception, and to mislead, with one decisive exception. That exception is repeatedly emphasized. Those who attain sincerity, inner clarity, and freedom from self-deception remain beyond his grasp. The nature of this sincerity will be explored in later discussions. In response to the adversary's declared intent, divine guidance establishes a clear boundary. Inner alignment leads toward restoration and meaning. Surrender to inner deception leads toward fragmentation and loss. The narrative concludes not with despair, but with moral clarity rooted in inward responsibility. From this cumulative account, the existence of a conscious, inner, unseen adversarial presence is not merely asserted, but systematically explained. Its origin lies in frustrated ambition, its justification in arrogance, and its persistence in vowed opposition. This pattern offers insight into the deeper architecture of inward moral conflict. Importantly, this recognition is not confined to a single tradition. Across religious and philosophical systems, the presence of an inner opposing force or metaphysical adversarial principle operating within the human being and standing against truth, order, and moral alignment is widely acknowledged. In some traditions, it appears as a personal inner tempter or accuser. In others, as a destructive inward principle opposing harmony. Elsewhere, as delusion, rebellion, or corruption of perception, rather than a single named being. While the metaphysical vocabularies differ, the intuition remains strikingly consistent. Human beings are not navigating a morally neutral interior landscape, but one shaped by tension, inward opposition, and responsibility. This chapter therefore establishes the ontological and interior foundation for what follows, preparing the ground for deeper inquiry into influence, inner struggle, and the lived consequences of alignment or deviation. Yet narrative alone is not sufficient. If inward opposition appears so persistently within sacred history, reason must ask whether it reflects a deeper law embedded within human interiority itself. To answer this, the discussion must now move from what has been transmitted to what can be discerned, from origin to inner necessity, from account to contemplation.